Sure. And as you mentioned it, we've got it in the doc here for the show. So Facebook has 2.5 billion active users, LinkedIn has 260 million active users, and Clubhouse has 10 million active users. So those numbers surprised me because you called me out on the LinkedIn numbers, and we had to kind of re-look at that because you were correct in that I wrote it down wrong. But Clubhouse versus LinkedIn, there's obviously a massive difference there in the numbers, but there's also a massive difference in the user base, right? Of LinkedIn is more appropriate for more people. Clubhouse, if you don't like just listening to stuff, you're never going to download and get subscribed to Clubhouse, and it's invitation only. So do those numbers surprise you, Daniel, that so many people are on Clubhouse compared to like an incumbent social network like LinkedIn?
Yeah, I think those numbers reflect our current circumstances in the world. I think we've got a sort of a pent-up world at the moment where a new platform comes out, unique, different, audio only. Probably a lot of people sick and tired of being on Zooms all day and Teams meetings. It's accelerated the growth more than what it did. Same as what helped TikTok last year. Now, I think, as you say, it's very active, it's very noisy, but you're right, it is very much specific to audio, which is a percentage of people's preferences. Some people prefer video, some people prefer text. So it is a small group. I don't know how the social network will evolve as it goes live. But yeah, it's surprising to see how active it is. We'll talk about it probably properly in a minute. But when you go into it and you listen, it's immensely the most time-consuming social media network out there by far, and it's very noisy instantly. If you think about people moan about the LinkedIn feed, the Facebook feed, Clubhouse is already 10 times noisier with a fraction of the audience. So yeah, there are a lot of challenges, but also a lot of opportunities. But we'll cover Clubhouse in its own right.
Cool. So we touched on Facebook. Again, whether you use your own profile, whether you create a business profile, the content, whether you are creating new content for the platform, or whether you are documenting what you're doing, which is interesting in its own right, there's value there. So let's touch, because you mentioned Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Let's cover YouTube next, because this is where I think there's massive potential for B2B salespeople. And you only have to look at sales trainers on YouTube. There's not that many people with big audiences, like at all. There is, if I may be slightly off with some of these numbers, but you have the likes of Grant Cardone. Now, he talks about sales training, but he also talks probably a lot more about investing and financial freedom and mindset and all that kind of stuff more so. So I wouldn't say he's 100% a sales training channel. Then you move down to incisors to my friend Victor Antonio, who has about 200,000 subscribers, who only covers sales training content, and he does great, produces tons of new content, and I do a show with him called This Week in Sales, which you can find on his YouTube channel as well. And from there, then you're the likes of myself with what are we on? I can't see on this. 44,000 subscribers. Now, 44,000 subscribers on YouTube is not a lot of subscribers. That is kind of the beginnings of a fledgling YouTube channel, as opposed to someone who's really made it. So I feel like on YouTube, there's a ton of opportunity on two fronts. One, even though it's been around forever, industry-specific content rather than teenagers doing stupid stuff and blogging and vlogging. The more corporate B2B informative content, there's massive gaps in marketplaces for there that salespeople can capitalize on. And because YouTube is the world's second largest search engine after Google, even though it's basically just the Google search, but for video, right? There's massive opportunity for creating content that people will find. Because I find the issue when I publish content on LinkedIn is it goes into LinkedIn black hole, does well, doesn't do well, and then gets spat out into a bucket at the back of LinkedIn somewhere, and it's never seen again. Whereas on YouTube, I've got videos that have done 100,000 views, 500,000 views that get tens of thousands of views a month, and will do probably for the next 5-6 years onwards from here. So an investment into YouTube content from a thought leadership perspective and branding, which we talk about all the time on this show, kind of has a long tail and has a longer lifetime than on other platforms. So am I fair in saying this, Daniel, that, well, I'm fair in saying it because it's my opinion, but do you agree with some of this, that YouTube might be the second best platform after LinkedIn for building thought leadership, as long as you have the time, energy, and resources to build great content on the platform?
No, I completely agree, Will. And you, I mean, you talk about your 44,000 in that context. I've probably got like 400, so I'm way behind you. But I am late to the party and identifying the potential that exists on YouTube, and that's where I'm going to be investing a lot of my time in the coming sort of months and probably few years. Because you're right, I guess it's an interesting one, because if I was to go into a SaaS company, a B2B company, and look at that sales team, it is hard to imagine all of them creating their own YouTube channels and how they would be able to utilize that, effectively. From an individual perspective, I would say, LinkedIn holds more potential. But what I would say is you're going to get every team that I've teached, every team that I've worked with, taught. There is always one or two, I guess, thought leaders in the making. There's one or two people that get social media, that have all those ingredients, have the personality, the creativity. Those are the sort of people you definitely want to be encouraging to create. So your Sarah Braziers, your Tom Bostons, the people that are out there putting out great content at SDR level, AE level, they could and should be setting up their own YouTube channels where the marketing team at the company should be supporting them to help with quality, to help with thumbnails and all those little details that they're probably not going to know. Because you're absolutely right, it's something that's going to churn and continue to convert in years to come. And then maybe more can sort of join into that. Yes, YouTube is a huge opportunity. It's just how you utilize it.